Hello, America. My name is Anthony Waugh, and the police have been fabricating audio and video transcripts to replace what's actually recorded over the phones. And this is with men and women who, when they were little kids, they attached them to fake words. I have affidavits and other means recorded to demonstrate this, which also shows themselves and their family members having been rolled with predicate acts and cases and methods, wrongdoing methods, even methods of wrongdoing. I'm not a lawyer, not a police form, not a criminal. They have roles with wire crimes, mail crimes, and methods of that, individually grouped and together into branch. They have locations along Southstein Highway and along Route 3 involved with families like associated with Joshua Julian and other strangers I don't know, but I heard their names confessed, and he confirmed also rules with various natures of online crimes with a principal child abusers campus, with police forms and medical families involved, also with overt criminal enterprises and private ones, with predicate acts on my street, identity thefts and frauds, instances, roles. These are also interbranch families that were raised as victim predators interbranch, hearing other people's names in conversation, where there's in conversations mixed with identity thefts and frauds. There is a Tom Perone, I don't know, who sought me out to make confessions about his sister's roles with John Laurie in the corner of Hangdog Lane and Highcrest Street, which is a confirmation of his roles with. And it didn't make sense because I don't know him. I didn't know him then. His roles with the confessions of Tim O'Brien years later. And before that, regarding the corners of another corner, I perceived they were speaking about, but they have all three corners of that street involved, and they have other uses of corners where they have human nature oriented predicate acts, roles, and illusions, identity thefts and frauds. There's a phenomenon where they exploit where people aren't in the same classes, so they're not going to be able to communicate with each other. And so, but they're going to make opinions and convictions about others. And so they're going to increasingly self-value illusions they film to pretend. Like some people at Newton, for example, at Trinity College, recorded students of there involved with the intelligence community and with the foreign, a whole bunch of countries involved with them, and them there, keeping them needing to hide the same lie progressions. Like their roles with, they recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed. There are the Morrow families, intercities, that have been involved with predicate acts with names on off. Trinity College, also involved with former director of the FBI, also on off Central Connecticut State University, who also colluded with uses of real estate transactions and placements of intelligence community families and military families as the ones with the criminally foreign influenced evidences, crimes, and illusions already being and having been used. For example, using them pretending other. In other cases, where such phenomena is manifest, where and how we could use correlation/discorrelation as means for revelations and for hyper-revelations, which are distinct from revelations. For example, to explain where and how there's a difference between making a positive out of a negative and of demonstrating where positive and revealing where a positive that will only stay positive unto itself, and that is only discernible by that nature of positive that is everywhere at once. So if one, for example, if someone is, all parts of all identities of one's body are malnourished, and then they eat something, it can't go everywhere at once. Each identity of the body is distinct, but they're also non-distinct. They also are semi-nature shared to what is their complete strength and value, which is only increasing. See, but it is now through and as identities of names, locations, titles, species volume, science/S, that are increasingly ulterior, increasingly self-valuing theories and physical delusions and criminally foreign influence narratives having been used to replace American history's correlation/discorrelation. For example, by which, and so they pretend it's about this is where and how they self-value opinions regarding passions and emotions, where there is groupthink and crowd control think that is in collusion with it. Sick nature, insidious natures of positive and negative treatments and collusion originally instilled. So we have screened that and how we don't have the right to assembly. We have screened where and how the earth from nations A through Z was tactically denatured by a method that knew that people would have to seek means to being caused positive value nature progressions that would only be capable of doing it by making positives out of negatives and then defending that. Therefore, increasingly defending what couldn't and can't defend itself as premises treatments, quality of fact treatment, nature treatments, and us from what exploits where and how the value of the sciences, stewardships, and uses of the locations where we are forced to be, where they use where they met there. So there, for example, there are people with the name Cololo people at Trinity College confessed, recorded, demonstrated, confirmed with other Wethersfield police that a Cololo family and that others I don't know the names of from my area are involved with federal crimes with evidences that judges and prosecutors are involved also with overt criminal enterprises and doctors with. Someone as a Ray Cololos, one of the Ray Cololos, or someone pretending to be them, because Wethersfield Police and the Interbranch have been pretending to be the people, and me and my family and stuff like that, because they attach me and everyone to fake words and lies, including WFSB, NBC, Connecticut News, and WTNH. So New Britain Herald has and other newspapers have journalists that are also associated with or as the intelligence community, and they're associated also with Jack Heitner and with the doctors and the doctor of a girlfriend one reportedly. Well, who used to be my girlfriend too. Before that, I don't even know if that's true. I know that. But it was also recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed it's involved with Franklin Avenue locations, where and how overt criminal enterprises, plural, distinct ones, are involved with the narratives and the names, like with the Jack Heitner and other people in the English department, distinctly and non-distinctly and simultaneously other departments associated with Parker English, with Logic, involved also with drugs and medicines crimes, and with people from Vietnam that are also doctors of psychology. So it's their roles with untimely deaths and abuses of girls and women. Also, simultaneously, uses of the counters pretended to be for girls and women, where and how that's evolved with self-valued rules with the predicate acts, methods, in cases recorded, uses of that recorded, and uses of that recorded also through their own other motivations, natures, needs, interests, excuses, etc., originally and still relevant to the breaching method that was and is responsible for slavery in all its forms, which is additional to it. What enables it additional is how torture is additional to it. This is one of the reasons why the Constitution is supposed to be unabridged in its defenses, We are supposed to have a quality of fact treatment nature unabridged as a quality of fact treatment nature that can't afford to entertain topics treatments that entertain exceptions and exception nature to where and how criminally legalized, were and criminally employed, were all natures of industry, sickly distinctly, to keep out sickly non-distinctly from being discerned, even by the nations it was through too. Ulterior motivations, natures, and needs interest from its own. A hyper-archetypal breaching method. Then this refers to countries A through Z as archetypal breaching criminal enterprises. And correlation reveals needs also to discern transnational criminal enterprises and interstate criminal enterprises. Also, exceptions in exception nature where there are killers of various natures. And people just insidious positions, titles, and natures of sophistication, non-sophistication, A through Z, recorded how effectively kept the collusion, self-valuing, naive quality of fact treatment natures, per how everyone was is recorded, effectively self-valuing, how every single person, sickly distinctly, is the victim of a sequence shifts and other quality of fact treatment nature sabotages and uses of that by a breaching method. But again, to discern this, it was and is also juxtaposed how simultaneously and hyper-simultaneously through other motivations, natures, needs, interests. For example, that is discernible when someone tries to use logic to say, to beginning a course of logic by saying, you know how slavery was unnatural. No one ever got over the responses of people who would say, well, if it was unnatural, why would it be there? See, this is a good example of where exceptions and exception nature are exploited by individuals as victims, and then defended as victim predators in collusion with the breaching method. In other words, it is natural only through criminal insidiousness. And so it is necessary to discern the increasing relevance of discernible, hyper relevance, and it. I forgot, but in other words, it's criminally foreign influenced. It's only natural as criminal insidiousness nature. Nature itself, where nature of the law is valued. Criminal insidiousness nature is valued. To discern the hyper-identity is hyper-identity of relationship to itself. That which is space / existence / accounting for the identity of volume / S, that is where and how more and more forever nature is being made. Only the extent of it is debatable. Again, we have such things being and having been debated and gotten away with offensively per self-value uses of obfuscations of the course of our ratiocination. See, the Republic is the perfection of a tractatus, as each. That is the individual of as the species body. That every group body must voice, or it's an insidious body. And so, so they simultaneously had to criminally legalize things and criminally decriminalize things for the syntax manifest. Uses of it where and how they have remotely and had remotely. Uses the physical delusions too, juxtaposed with where and how people try to use that course of logic. Yes, it is unnatural. Slavery. Oh, again, for the person who goes, if it was unnatural, why would it be? It's unnatural, but as criminal and seditious nature. See, it's a system other. So its nature itself is going to be a base. This is going to be using using lies as truths, and using truths for lies, and putting lies between truths. As a quality of fact, cheap nature as criminal and seditious nature. As that which is worse than just negative. Remember, positive identity has a relationship to positive and negative simultaneously. So the worst things, instead of making positive out of negative, we make positive that is also positive onto itself, which is different than making positive out of negative. This reveals that what can't help but be positive everywhere at once, more and more. This is where evolution's fruits and gifts come from. Its system, its method /S. I tell best, Boxings. So English was revealed to teach this. So Alpha, Omega, and Mother are distinctly, non-distinctly, and simultaneously. And demonstration of the same thing. How they have the same volume as the species body of volume science. Distinctly, non-distinctly, and simultaneously the same way. It is distinctly, non-distinctly, in other words, alpha, male, female, and father. There is a science by why and how we are syntax nature, while and how being individuals as species body and as individual body and as group body. Valuing that hypernatural system's perfect value progression. Otherwise, nature will demonstrate negative value nature progressions, acts, and natures. And the loss of Earth's distinct, non-distinct, and simultaneous relationships difference, positive difference to the rest of space nature. So therefore it forced from here our value, which is what? Consciousness. Why is entertainment value consciousness? /hyperconsciousness. So English was revealed to teach this. So the definitions in the dictionary were revealed by the ancients as identities of volume, distinct, non-distinct, and simultaneously identities of volume. Just like the ulterior definitions of each word were /are. So it is also recorded in /hyper recorded that and how we are instances, respondent natures. Like, for example, there was a Celeste Wells who knows me through other people from other classrooms who lied to her as people involved with overt criminal enterprises, private ones, on-off shipping locations, on-off campuses locations, including fire and medical campuses, EMS campuses, on-off wire locations, the companies that deal with that. They have the sense and sensibilities of the companies the same way they have the agencies and the branches. In other words, those are exceptions, the exceptions of nature that take the place of the identity of the branches, many ways. In other words, originally still they were roles with what was going on at locations from their positions, bringing people back to their positions, where and how everyone was his roles, blaming what nature demonstrates the breaching method caused and cause is, rolls with it. But see, the only reason we can't talk about that because everyone already invested themselves blaming other things, others, and or self, increasingly self-valuing that theater that has excuses. Oh, because this is how our audience likes us to speak. Follow mandated law then. The correspondence of the news people, then they pretend it's personal because we say these things. That's why, but simultaneously they want to fight with passions and emotions about the integrity of agencies and of their directors they don't even know. Meanwhile, manifest our treatments of black, a color, formally, and recorded self-value having been inclusion, because they are increasingly self-valuing inclusion with that method that put that color difference, specifically to propagate self-maintain, self-valued through other motivations, natures, needs, interests, roles, not as the human volume science, not as the conjunction to our syntax nature that has manifest why and how we're supposed to use words like value, which know how value has a relationship to positive and negative simultaneously, just like the identity does. See, things that are different, some things are different, but some things share. Being the hyper-simultaneous nature the same exact way. For example, that's how it is discernible. A simultaneous nature is one of the things that space/existence is. All things at once. That which is simultaneous. And not leaving out the addition of what is only increasingly being made. And that's relative to the value of that having been made. Hear many pray. But still we are forced to entertain group bodies effectively used to get over to prevent people from reporting sequence shifts in natures of identity thefts and frauds instances, because we have people from the intelligence community involved also with wire crimes through this, with the Wethersfield police over the past months, as the people that were involved and are involved on-off Trinity College, on-off CCSU, leading up to the World Trade Center attack, and since, with relevant predicate acts and relevant roles with the attacking countries and relevant roles with uses of peace and of war and collusion originally and still. That's evidence. That's hyper evidence. When did that stop? So they used to have people make confessions to me when I would be walking, and all of a sudden there would be someone there that's different. And there were connections between their confessions. These are people that sought me out when they were little boys and girls. It mixed with people I don't know at all. And they abused the boys and girls' sensibilities. They used them remotely then and now as victims, but as victim predators. They have everyone, and they get away with it because they have everyone calling people names and pretending others are doing it. That's why it's so relevant, the sequence shifts. So there's an officer, Poison, who's one of the officers involved, Wethersfield Interbranch, on-off CCSU, involved with the former director of the FBI in his defendant capacities, also involved at locations crimes leading up to that and since with judges and their family members, prosecutors and their family members, and employments at those court locations and police forms locations, interbranch family members and their family members leading up to the World Trade Center attack and since, who had predicate acts roles together, identity thefts and frauds roles, instances. Also how differentially criminally foreign influenced, but increasingly, so they're increasingly valuing having been perfect captivation of each branch, and so they try to get away with it while they don't want to be, but they are used their sophistication, lack of sophistication simultaneously used remotely So that can be discerned relevant to the how they're preventing us from reporting sequence shifts. Reporting Wethersfield Police Department is involved with wire crime methods. They fabricate audio and video transcripts with other police forms. So there's a DeMauro family, and there are a whole bunch of people recorded on Facebook that Mike Roberts. I barely know him. The only context I know him in were with people that make recorded confessions, demonstrated confirmed roles with the juxtaposed natures of child abuse, even sexual, that the courts, judges, and family members had and have with friends of his, as the people involved on and off my street with predicate acts then that are roles with increasing ones on the campuses like Trinity College, CCSU, still involved with predators. They've been hiding live progressions per their roles of predicate acts and cases, per their needs shown to need to hurt and to hide from. Correlation nature at each age of it, because it was these intercities through time involved with manifest uses of the campuses per how this is recorded. So there was an O'Brien family. There was a Joseph Dennis. I never had a conversation with a John Dennis in my life. I don't know his father's name, his mother's name. I don't know his sister's name. I never had a conversation with them. There's a route that goes from Wethersfield, Old Wethersfield, and it goes on Wells Road, and it goes all the way there through Wethersfield, Newington, and into New Britain. CCSU, right? And then on the eastern side of CCSU. And the western side of it is Paul Manafort Drive / CCSU. That is recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed, involved with stories, recorded, used to hide predicate acts, roles, and other stories. Used to hide roles with predicate acts and cases that the news media, CNN, has. And they're also where they're using us needing to use their name where they did bad, rather than following mandated law. That's what, in other words, their Facebook page stewards have them involved with this. This is also their uses of Facebook and like, oh, it's Facebook. Oh, but and using the excuse of that's the time treatments for the subject treatment. So when they bring up the border, they a breaching method measures and maintains all identity ground, voices of sophistication / lack of sophistication, inclusion with each other as arrays, inclusion, used by the logic of people involved with dictates in the furtherance of obfuscating and preventing voicings of reality proper, and in the furtherance of uses of reality treatments still at the end of the whip. Still, in other words, leading up to the World Trade Center attack and since, there were people that knew they had the need, they were shown the needs to hide their roles with torture. The attacking countries in our own already had roles with all kinds of medical racketeering, all kinds of physical delusions, and sick theories criminally foreign influenced, and self-valued having been so already with mental health, with their justifications of their roles and uses of medications and medicines at formal locations involved with people as roles with the overt criminal enterprises in private, lying about people's behavior, lying about exception nature. They are preventing people simultaneously at each age from proper voicings of their short words, honest voicings of their short words, distinctly, to keep the more and more the long words fake, and that theater entertained blamed on other things, others, and or on selves, for the breaching method that needs its actually discernibly manifest body actually capable of being charged, actually has a nature of unity and of division that really cares for why and how we're simultaneously united and not. And that's so the value of that, it's a hyper value. It has a relationship to is differentially constant. There are proofs that the heartbeat of Allah, it's made with theory, but it's also with proofs that science reveals where and how it is most probable that matter and physics became and stay manifest, which is sent from before matter, already self-generating, was the identity of existence / space. Note how space is simultaneously smaller than and is simultaneously bigger than space with matter juxtaposed as matter too. And note how space juxtaposed as matter too is a different way / s simultaneously bigger than and smaller than space. This is because one identity of volume's identity of relationship to itself. One identity of volume, its identity of relationship to itself. Its identity of volume because we can only see a semi-nature of it, which is coupled with the perfectly increasing with that semi-nature, its identity of relationship to itself as value, where value is nature / nature is value. And the value of that is also increasing. But this is where we are hyper value. And this is where and how hyper nature, that one that people don't want and can't lie about, will demonstrate it won't accept a system that has slavery, a system that has torture, like ours. It rolls with it because it becomes, in other words, they've been delaying voices more and more because they've been fabricating audio and video. They have a scam way worse than the ones that they put people in jail for, including kids that they basically train them to only capable of doing scams. Ones that are involved with urban locations, countries A through Z. One were all exception nature demonstrations. Even the suburbs were designed to cause negative value nature progressions, acts, and natures, as a system that knew that they can effectively make everybody. They can make exceptions by making this international fake unity as species body convictions / opinions and / opinions / convictions, because the science reveals it's a sequence nature where and how it is simultaneously a simultaneous nature, distinctly, non-distinctly, and simultaneously, where and how we follow its identity of volume, its identity of relationship to itself, and the value of that. So it did not and does not want slavery. And it demonstrated it, and it demonstrates it. See, but our formal identities of sophistication / non-sophistication, formal meaning overt criminal enterprises and private ones, transnational ones, interstates, and meaning the defenses of themselves as the voices of the individual countries, bodies. They can't defend themselves and discern or use the revelations of correlation / discorrelation, not just by the exception they just exploited so many at once by the people speaking fast as the news, the topic treatments. So we have to discern a hyper subject / predicate. The same way we have to discern a subject / predicate, or a value slash value nature as the value of a sentence. A hyperconjunction.